Okay, now we're going to move on to, we've created a graphic, we've created a movie clip, and now we're going to create another symbol which is going to be called a button. A button. So this is on still under this week's chapter. It's under page flash 3-16. So I'm going to open an ActionScript 2.0. So from a blank slate. The purpose we're doing ActionScript 2.0 is it can be a bit easier to create simple scripts and simple commands. So we're going to create a button. I'm going to create a circle. Just have a circle there, an object. I'm going to give this layer a name of button. Okay, then we are going to right click, convert to symbol. Convert to symbol. Of course, we need to give it a name, so I'll say, I don't know, button BTN. And then I'm going to select the type. The type in this case is going to be a button. Then I'm going to click OK. There are some other advanced options. We don't need to be using them. That's for more sort of programming. So click OK. Okay, now that is a symbol. So there's going to be 3 types of symbols you can create. A graphic, a movie clip, and now a button. Now if we double click on this, just like we do with the movie clip, you will see that it's going to be different. The layer is going to be different and the frames are going to be different. We see up, over, down, and hit. Up is what the default button will look like. When we hover over it, what color, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to kind of animate, something happen? Then that would happen. When you click on it, you know what happens? It explodes, something happens. And hit is the region where your mouse over will be active. Now currently when you play this, nothing happens besides that finger appearing. Okay, that's new. We haven't seen that finger appear with the movie clip or the graphic. So that will allow us to click on it and for it to do something. Okay, now I'm going to copy, I'm going to go on the over and I'm going to do right click, insert keyframe. And I'm going to change the color to say, I don't know, kind of a yellow. The same thing there, insert keyframe, change the color, say purple or something, make it lighter, say a green, and hit right click, insert keyframe. So now all of these frames have something on it. When we play the movie, by default, it's that color we have. When we hover over it, it turns to yellow. When we click on it, it turns to green. That's it. So that is a button with the different states. Any questions on that? Any questions on that? So that's a simple button we've created. We could do lots of other things. You know, I could have another symbol and have that as a movie clip. Then within that, I could have a kind of a tween. And we'll do more of these color effects and say a tint. So now when we play it, when I hover over it, it changes color. Okay, in addition to that, what I could have done was I could have, you know, I could have it move too. You know, I could say it's going to move. Now when we play this, so there's lots of things we can do. as in addition to the colors changing. But we will do more of that later. But right now, if I can just undo this, yeah, I'll stick to that. So right now, what we're going to do is we've created a button. I'd like you guys to create a simple button. I'll give you 5 minutes to create a button. In fact, create 2 different buttons on different layers. So you would have 2 different buttons on different layers. So you would have button 1, button 2. Button 1. Shouldn't have that there. So create 2 separate buttons. Oops, it seems I created this into a movie clip. So don't forget, you need to make sure that when you convert the symbol, it has to be a button. No, I don't want you doing that. I just showed you, things you could do. Right now, I just want you to create the button with the different states, the different colors. So I don't want you going through, how I created the alpha. Right now, I just want you to do is the different states. So now we have 2 buttons. So that's all I want. You hover over, it changes color. You click on it and it changes color again. That's all I want. Okay, so I've got this button. I'm just going to move it here just at the bottom corner. And it's still going to work when you hover over it. You click on it, still works. So I've got this button 1. I'm going to create another layer. In fact, we could have our car here if we wanted to. I could take the car. Here's my car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer here. I'm going to call it button. I've got 2 movie clips open here. This is the button I created, and this is the car we did earlier on. There's our car moving. Okay, there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this button onto the other movie clip. So I'm going to Control C, and then I'll go to the button layer, Control V. There's my button. I'm just going to put it here in the middle. So you can copy objects back and forth. Now if we look in the library, there's my button. There's all my other objects that I created. So now if we play this, I still have my button. It still works. But it's pointless having a button that just changes state when you hover over it. The whole purpose of having a button is you click on it and something happens. So we want something to happen to this particular movie clip. Now if you look at page 3-12, it talks about 2 frames and buttons. Assign actions. Assign actions. So make sure you do read up. This isn't going to be that complex in terms of programming. So we're not really doing programming in this class, but it's always a good idea to have your animation interact. The user, it makes it more enjoyable for the user. It's a better experience. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to attach a action to this particular button. I'm going to go to Windows, Actions, or press F9. And what we see here, when you press F9, function key 9, we see the Actions panel. Currently, we're dealing with ActionScript 2.0. It's the older version. The textbook covers that. It's easier to attach actions to it. So now if we look on page 3-23, there is an action there. It says on release. So I'm going to type on release. It has to be exact in brackets. Release is actually the action that's going to occur. When we release the mouse button, we want something to happen. Now, when I type this, you may have realized it appears with different options. We can have on press, on release, on roll over. When we hover off that button, we want something to happen. So right now, we're just going to have release. We can click on it, close the brackets, and then we have a brace. The brace actually tells us anything that's going to be within this block is what's going to happen. It's going to be the actions that are going to be triggered when we release the mouse button. The action in our case is going to be go to, and I'm copying exactly as it is in the text, go to and play. Go to and play, and then we want to type in the frame number. The frame number in this case is going to be here, number 2. When we click on it, the movie will go back and it will start replaying from that point. Does that make sense? So now that's done. Remember, you have to attach the action to a button. You have to select the button and then type it. Now, if we play this, whenever we click on it, it goes back to frame 2 and replays. It keeps replaying. So now you could see the benefit of this. You could have multiple actions happening at particular points, and when you click on it, something will happen. So whenever we click on it, it goes back to the very second frame of our movie. Second frame is here. Now if we check, we will see it goes off the stage, then it starts playing. When we click on it again, it'll go back to the second frame and keep playing. So whenever we release, it goes to and plays from frame 2. You could say go to and stop. So now if we play it, it'll stop. You could see a bit of it there, stop. So let's actually have it on frame 12. It'll just stop. Okay, the nested wheels will continue to move. But we've got the movie clip on the outer scene stopping. Any questions on that? So you can go through that. And make sure you do go through this section on adding actions. You can also add labels if you like. Now, what is a label? We could go to any part of our movie clip and we could do right click. First, you would need to insert a keyframe. And then you can have a label added. The label is going to be from the properties section. So I'm going to just type start. Now when I type start, keep an eye over here what happens. I've got a label there. Now I could have a movie or an action for the animation to do something. Rather than going to a particular frame, I could say go to start. Now if we look at our action script, I could have in quotes start. Now when we play this again, it'll go to start, which is frame 15. So that's where labels are going to be beneficial. So once again, to add a label, right click, insert keyframe, then give it a name. So we could say stop. We can also attach, currently our movie just keeps playing over and over again, just cycles through non-stop. It'll just keep going around. You know, I want it to stop. Once it's done, it's all over, it's finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer, call it AS for action script. Then go to the very last frame of our movie. That's where I want my movie to stop. Insert a keyframe, then press F9 and type in stop. What that will do, it will stop our movie at that very last frame. You could stop it anywhere you like. So now when I run this, it will go through and then it's finished, it's stopped. I could also have it stop here. It doesn't have to be on the last frame. Could have it stop there. Now when I stop there, and if it does stop, I could say, you know, go to and start from stop. So now whenever I click on the button, I'm going to say go to and start from stop. Now it stops and it'll just keep going from there. It'll just keep playing from stop. So that's simple form of action scripting and controlling your movie. So make sure you go through that section on action scripting. It's the more time you spend on it, the better you're going to get. What I'd like you guys to do is to practice for the car to go this way, then come back. Then come back. It just keeps going left to right, right to left. How would you do that? Once you've got the wheels rotating, probably take you a bit longer. So I'm going to give you around, 20 minutes? 20 minutes to try to figure that out. How do you get the car to go back and forth? So what you should do is something like this for starters. You know, I've got the car going left to right. That's the first thing you should get sort out. Then I've got these two buttons, which generally when I click on it, it'll go from left to right. When I click on this, it'll go right to left. Okay, so the way I did the car, start from scratch. So I have this car here. It's got actually wheels missing there. We'll stick with that. So I'm not too fussed about the rotation. So it's just a car sitting there. So what I would generally do is I would have the number of frames that I want my movie to run at. Then right in the middle, I would insert a keyframe. Now on the left side, I would say create motion tween, and I'm going to have the car go all the way from right to left. Now when I come to this side, I need to move this off the stage. And in doing so, I'm going to rotate it, or have free transform and flip it. Rather than rotate, flip it. And now I do the same thing, right click, create motion tween. And I have that go all the way to the other side. Now when we play that, it goes back and forth. So once again, remember you need to insert a keyframe. Insert a keyframe, and then you would introduce the tween. So now going back, we have these two buttons I've created. So what I did was, I've created the one button. I'm just going to rescale it. It just seems a bit too big. So that's my button there. I mean, if I press F9 to go to the Actions panel, F9. Remember, you should also be making notes. F9 will take you to the Actions panel. When I click on this, it will go to and play to. I could use the same button. I could do Control C. And let me put this on a separate layer. Button 2. And I'm going to do Control V. And we're not done yet because these are same identical buttons. So I need to right click and then I need to go to duplicate symbol. I'm creating another instance of that button. Duplicate symbol. So right click, duplicate symbol. Then I'm going to give it button 2. Okay, now that I've done that, I've got this action script layer at the top called AS. This is where I'm going to put some of my stops here. So right at the beginning, I'm going to right click, insert keyframe, and I'm going to put a stop, F9, to take you to the Actions panel. I'm going to put a stop at the end too, stop. And I'm going to put a stop in the middle because I don't want this car to keep going back left and right. So I'm going to put a stop just there. Now if we play this, what do you think will happen? Nothing. Because I've got a stop right at the beginning. And that stop shouldn't be there, it should be there. So nothing happens. So now I'm going to put labels in. Remember labels? I'm going to put insert keyframe and I'm going to give it a label. Say drive left. That's what I'm going to call it, drive left. Then I'm going to put the other label when it comes back and I'm going to insert keyframe here and I'm going to put it to label for drive right. So I've got two labels, drive right and drive left. And right at the end it stops. Now if I click on one of the buttons, just select it, press F9, I've got go to and play to. I don't want a frame number. I wanted to say drive left. This has to be in quotes. Get drive left. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the other button, which is going to be drive right. Now I'm going to press Control Enter. Nothing happens. But when I click on this, it will drive and it stops. Now when I click on this, it should come back. Why is it doing that? Okay, let me see. Hang on, let me check. Drive right. Drive right. Go and play. Should do that. Stop. Okay, let me insert a keyframe. Let's try this. Just try again. Yeah, it's not doing it. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try creating another button. See what happens. On release, oh no. That's why. It wasn't attached, so let's try again. It seemed it didn't save it. Drive right. Let's try again. Save it. See what happens now. Oh. Drive right, drive left. Drive right, drive left. It's interesting. Should come back. So I'm going to quickly create another button, put it on a separate layer, and have labels on a separate layer. So convert to symbol. This will be a button. Double click. Insert keyframe. Let's change the color. Insert keyframe. Let's give it another color. And insert keyframe again. So now, hopefully this should work. I'm going to insert a script for this drive right. Let's see. There you go. Okay. So yeah, the issue there was I didn't realize I had the labels and the button on the same layer. So you need to ensure it's on a separate layer. So once again, stops, and when I click on this, if I click on this, it'll play back. If I click on that, it'll come back. Okay, if you're having, if you find this a bit more challenging, I can extend the weeks. So I'm not sort of strictly tied to all the chapters. If you feel you need extra time for me to go through this again, I will actually just push everything a bit more wider, so we spend a bit more time on this.